In today's video, while I make and glaze this cheese platter and bowl set, let's try and understand why mindset matters.
When I first heard some of my mentors and the artists I admire talk about mindset, I'll be honest, I didn't really get it. It felt vague, it felt abstract, one of those woo woo concepts that sounded nice but didn't really seem practical. I mean, how could mindset possibly matter when I was trying to figure out the real questions like which platform to sell on, how to price my work, or where to even begin, and what steps to take to grow my business next? But now, 5 years in, after countless failures and a handful of hard won successes, I can say with absolute certainty I would have never made it this far without intentionally working on my mindset. Without it, I would have walked away after that very first shop update where nothing sold, or right after that first market that didn't even cover my table fee. Now, don't get me wrong, the tactical questions about pricing and marketing and photography and social media, all of those are important, but they're not the biggest determinants of whether you'll succeed or not. From my own journey and from talking to a lot of other creatives, I found that mindset makes up at least 80% of the success in any creative business. In today's video, while I make and glaze a beautiful cheese platter and bowl set, let's try and understand why mindset really matters.
First and foremost is failure. Mindset shapes how you handle failure. Failure isn't just possible in a creative business, it's inevitable. At some point, every potter, painter, or maker will face it. You'll spend weeks and months on a product that doesn't sell. A glaze will misfire right before a market. You'll post a reel you're proud of only to get 12 likes. A customer will promise to buy and then never reply again. The hard truth is, failure is built into the creative journey. But here's where mindset makes all the difference. It determines whether failure becomes a stopping point or a stepping stone. When you operate from a fixed mindset, you see failure as a proof that you are the failure. The internal dialogue sounds like this: my pots aren't good enough. I'll never figure out Instagram. Maybe I'm not cut out to be an artist. This kind of thinking makes failure feel final, like a dead end. The emotional weight of one flop convinces you that you should quit, shrink back, or play smaller next time. Over time, a fixed mindset doesn't just stall your business, it chips away at your creativity and joy until making feels like pressure instead of play. With a growth mindset, failure isn't a reflection of you, it's data. Every misstep becomes feedback you can use to make better decisions next time. The internal dialogue sounds more like this: that glaze combo didn't work, maybe I'll test it thinner next time. This post didn't reach anyone. What if I try a different caption or hook? The market was slow, but I noticed my mugs got the most attention. Maybe I should bring more of those next round. The difference is subtle but powerful. You stop seeing failure as a verdict on your worth and instead start seeing it as information. And here's the magic: the more often you go through this cycle, the less scary failure becomes. You learn to expect it, to extract the lesson, and to move on faster. Honestly, this does take some practice in failing over and over again. Trust me when I say I've come a long way from seeing failure as the end of the road, the place where it felt impossible to recover. Now, I almost expect it whenever I try something new. Of course, I still feel the sting. It hurts for a day, sometimes more, but it no longer paralyzes me. The fear of failure no longer holds me back or stops me from pursuing what I want, because I know it's simply part of the journey. Now, why does this matter for creative business owners? The creators who succeed long term are not the ones who never fail. Spoiler alert, they fail all the time. They are the ones who refuse to let failure define them. They experiment more because they are not afraid of getting it wrong. They grow faster because they turn each misstep into a learning opportunity. They keep showing up even when things don't go as planned because they trust that consistency eventually pays off. This resilience, the ability to absorb failure, learn from it, and keep building, is what separates a thriving creative business from one that burns out in the early years. Here's a practical takeaway. Next time you face failure, just pause and ask yourself, what exactly went wrong? And get specific not emotional. What can I learn from this? And how will I apply this lesson next time? Write it down if you need to. Treat it like research instead of rejection. Over time, you'll build the muscle of resilience, and that mindset shift will carry you further than any marketing trick or productivity hack ever could. Mindset determines how you see money. For so many artists and makers, money is one of the hardest parts of running a business. Not because we don't want to earn it, but because of the stories we've absorbed about it. Maybe you grew up hearing artists don't make real money, or it's greedy to charge too much, or if you really loved what you do, you wouldn't care about the money. Or maybe you've internalized the internal stereotype that creativity and business simply don't mix, that selling your work makes you less pure as an artist. Here's the problem with this. If your goal is to build a creative business, you can't carry these beliefs with you. They will hold you back at every turn. When you see money through a scarcity lens, it always feels like there's not enough. This shows up in subtle but destructive ways. You underprice your work because you're afraid no one will pay more. You apologize for your prices, as if charging fairly is something to be guilty about. You hesitate to invest in tools, courses, or even good clay because you're worried the money won't come back. You end up working longer hours for less pay, reinforcing the idea that being an artist isn't sustainable. Scarcity mindset convinces you that money is a limited pie and taking more means others get less. It keeps you stuck in the hobbyist mode, hustling harder but never truly thriving. Shifting to an abundance mindset doesn't mean being careless with money. It means seeing it as a renewable resource, as energy that flows in and out. With an abundance mindset, you price your work based on value, not guilt or fear. You understand that charging fairly allows you to sustain your art rather than burning out. You invest in tools, education, and support because you know they'll multiply your growth in the long run. You see money as a way to expand your impact by creating more, serving better, and reaching further. Instead of asking, what's the least I can charge so someone will buy? You start asking, what price reflects the value, time, and heart I've put into this? At its core, money mindset is what separates a hobbyist from a business owner. A hobbyist thinks, I just need to cover my clay and kiln costs. A business owner thinks, I need to price in a way that sustains me, funds growth, and allows me to keep creating long term. One is about survival, the other is about sustainability. If you struggle with money mindset, here are some questions to reframe it. 1. Am I underpricing out of fear, or am I charging fairly for the value I provide? 2. If I charged enough to truly sustain my business, what could that unlock? Could be better tools, more creative freedom, less burnout. 3. Do I believe that earning well as an artist is possible and that it doesn't make my work any less authentic? When you shift your mindset around money, everything else, your pricing, your marketing, even your confidence in selling becomes easier because you're no longer trying to justify your worth. You're simply standing in it. Mindset controls your relationship with comparison. Comparison is one of the biggest emotional challenges of running a creative business today. Thanks to Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok, we are exposed to an endless stream of other artists' highlight reels. Their perfectly styled product shots, sold out shop updates, viral reels, and stunning glaze combinations. No matter where you are in your journey, there will always be someone ahead of you. A potter with 50,000 more followers, someone whose glaze photography looks like a magazine spread, makers whose shop sells out in minutes while yours feels quiet. The danger isn't comparison itself, it's how you interpret it. And that's where mindset comes in. With an unhelpful mindset, comparison quickly spirals into self-doubt. my work will never look like theirs, into inaction. What's the point of posting when they're already doing it better? Into burnout, constantly chasing other people's styles, glazes, or product lines until you feel disconnected from your own creative voice. This mindset keeps you stuck because instead of building on your strengths, you're trying to measure yourself against someone else's middle or even their 10th year in business. With a growth oriented mindset, comparison becomes a tool instead of a trap. Instead of envy, you lean into curiosity. What specifically do I admire about their work? What can I learn from their photography or storytelling or shop update strategy? How might I apply that insight in a way that still feels true to me? This doesn't mean copying someone else, it means using comparison as fuel to refine your path. You're not competing against them, you're growing alongside them. Comparison is unavoidable in the digital age. The difference is whether it leads you to paralysis or progress. With the wrong mindset, you shrink back and stop sharing your work. With the right mindset, you extract lessons, adapt them to your own style, and grow faster. And the funny thing, once you start focusing on your own lane, people begin to notice you for your authenticity, not your imitation of someone else. Next time you catch yourself in the comparison spiral, try this. Firstly, identify the trigger. What exactly are you comparing? Is it their glazing? Is it their photography, sales, or social media following? Naming it makes it less overwhelming. Step 2, reframe the thought. Instead of, I'll never be that good, try, I admire their consistency. What's one small thing I could do consistently this month? Step 3, take action. If you're jealous of someone's product photos, schedule a practice photo session. If their reels inspire you, try creating a 15-second clip of your own. Small actions flip comparison into momentum. And step 4, limit exposure when needed. Sometimes the healthiest mindset is stepping away. Muting accounts, taking a scroll break, or focusing on your studio work can protect your mental space. Remember, comparison doesn't disappear. You're human, and humans notice differences. But with the right mindset, comparison stops being a reason to doubt yourself and starts being a reason to grow. Instead of asking, why am I not there yet? Try asking, what can I learn here and how can I make it my own? That shift alone can take you from feeling stuck and small to feeling empowered and intentional in your creative journey. Mindset keeps you consistent, even when results are slow. One of the hardest truths about building a creative business is that it takes longer than you think. We live in a world of instant likes, viral reels, and overnight success stories. It's easy to believe that if your shop update doesn't sell out in minutes, or if your Instagram doesn't grow by thousands each month, you're somehow failing. But the reality is much quieter and much slower. Your first shop update might only sell a handful of pieces, or none at all. Your email list might grow by 3 to 5 people a month. Your first few markets might barely cover the booth fee. This can feel discouraging. You're putting in hours of work, but the results don't seem to match. That's what I call the invisible growth phase. The only thing that carries you through this phase is mindset. Without it, the discouragement can convince you to quit too soon, right before the compounding effect kicks in. With the right mindset, you remind yourself that small actions do stack up, even when you can't see it yet. That consistency matters more than one-off big wins. That the progress happening behind the scenes will show itself in time. This mindset helps you keep showing up, even when it feels like no one's watching. Think of consistency as stacking bricks. One Instagram post, one market, one email might not seem like much on its own, but brick by brick, you're building a foundation that becomes unshakable over time. That small email list? A year later, it's a loyal audience who opens every update and buys at every launch. That slow first market, it introduces you to 5 collectors who become repeat customers for life. That Instagram account with 300 followers, it's where you learn photography, storytelling, and connection. Skills that later fuel your growth. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it compounds into results far bigger than you expect. When you don't have the right mindset, you're tempted to chase shortcuts, constantly pivoting strategies, hoping for a magic formula, giving up on a channel like email or YouTube because it's not growing fast enough, burning yourself out trying to force fast results instead of letting growth unfold over time. The irony? Chasing shortcuts usually makes the journey longer. You restart over and over instead of building momentum in one direction. Here are some mindset shifts and actions that help me stay steady. First is celebrate tiny wins. Did 3 new people join your list? That's 3 real humans who care about your work. 2. Track your progress. Look back 6 months instead of 6 days. The growth is clearer when you zoom out. 3. Set process goals, not just outcome goals. Instead of, I need 1,000 followers, try, I'll post 3 times a week for the next 90 days. Fourth, remember your why. You started this for a reason bigger than numbers. Keep reconnecting to it. And fifth, expect the lag. Know that results usually show up months after the effort, not immediately. Consistency is less about discipline and more about belief. If you believe your actions matter, even when the results are invisible, you will keep showing up long enough for the payoff to arrive. And when it does, you will realize that the real win wasn't just the sales or the followers, it was the resilience, patience, and the creative muscle you built along the way. Mindset helps you balance creativity and strategy. Running a creative business is so much more than making beautiful work in the studio. The clay, the glazes, the designs, that's the heart. But to actually sustain yourself as an artist, you also have to step into roles that feel far less romantic. A marketer, a bookkeeper, a photographer, packer, customer service rep, website manager, content creator, and sometimes even tech support. And let's be honest, for many creators, those parts feel draining, intimidating, or just plain boring. But here's the thing, a business can't thrive on creativity alone. You need the strategy side, the systems, the numbers, the marketing to support the art. And mindset is what allows you to bridge the two. When you resist the strategy side, your thoughts might sound like, I hate marketing, it feels pushy and fake, I'm terrible with numbers, so I'll just ignore my finances. I'm an artist, not a business person. This resistance creates roadblocks. You avoid learning the skills, procrastinate on important tasks, and end up feeling frustrated that your art isn't reaching enough people. The creative side flourishes, but the business side struggles to keep up. With the right mindset, you stop seeing strategy as the enemy and start reframing it as support for your creativity. Instead of, I hate marketing, you shift to, marketing is sharing my story and connecting with people who will love my work. Instead of, I'm terrible with numbers, you reframe to, I'm learning to understand my business so I can make better decisions. And instead of, I'm not a business person, you affirm, I am becoming both an artist and a business owner because both roles allow me to keep creating. Now, this doesn't mean you'll suddenly love spreadsheets or Instagram analytics, but you'll approach them with curiosity instead of dread. And that opens the door to growth. If you lean only into creativity, your work risks staying hidden in your studio. If you lean only into strategy, Your business may feel soulless and uninspired. The magic is in the balance. A healthy mindset lets you see marketing as an extension of your creativity with storytelling, visuals, and connection. It lets you approach systems as tools that protect your time for more art. And it lets you use numbers as feedback, not judgment, so you can adjust your course intelligently. When you treat strategy as a support system rather than a burden, it stops feeling like an interruption and starts feeling like an ally. Here are a few reframes that have helped me. Marketing means storytelling. Instead of pushing sales, I shared the meaning, process, and care behind my work. This makes marketing feel authentic. Bookkeeping means clarity. Numbers aren't scary, they are a flashlight that helps me see what's working and where to adjust. Systems mean freedom. The truth is, you don't have to choose between being an artist or being a business owner. With the right mindset, you can be both. And when you embrace both, your business not only grows, it sustains the creative freedom you dreamed of when you started. Because ultimately, balancing creativity and strategy isn't about doing more. It's about seeing the business side as another canvas where you can create, connect, and thrive. Mindset protects you from burnout. One of the sneakiest traps in a creative business is the belief that you have to do it all in order to succeed. Post daily on Instagram. Say yes to every custom order. Open an Etsy shop and a Shopify store. Do wholesale and markets. Answer every DM immediately. At first, it feels like hustle, like momentum, like you're proving how serious you are. But over time, it turns into exhaustion. Instead of feeling excited about your art, you start to feel weighed down by it. What once gave you joy begins to feel like a never ending to do list. That's burnout. And it doesn't just sap your energy, it makes you resent the very business you worked so hard to build. With the do it all mindset, your inner dialogue will sound like, if I don't say yes, I'll lose the customer. If I'm not on every platform, I'll fall behind. If I rest, I'll miss opportunities. It's rooted in fear of missing out, of disappointing people, of not being enough. And ironically, the harder you try to keep up with everything, the quicker you end up drained and uninspired. A healthier mindset accepts a simple truth: you can't do everything and you don't need to. It reframes the narrative into something more empowering. I don't need to be on every platform. I only need to show up where my audience connects best with me. I don't need to accept every custom request. My boundaries actually protect my creativity and my time. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a fuel for better work. This mindset shift is what protects you from burnout and keeps your creativity alive. It's about working smarter, not harder, and remembering that your business is a marathon, not a sprint. Burnout doesn't just affect your mood, it affects your business growth. A burned out artist can't create their best work. They cannot show up consistently for their audience, they cannot think clearly about long term strategy, or enjoy the very process that drew them to the art in the first place. Protecting your energy isn't indulgence, it's survival. Without it, your business can't sustain itself for the long haul. Here are some mindset based practices you can adopt to protect yourself from burnout. 1. Choose one focus at a time. It's better to go deep on a platform like Instagram or YouTube than spread yourself thin across 5. 2. Set boundaries with custom work. If a request doesn't light you up or fit your schedule, it's okay to say no. Your best customers will respect that. 3. Schedule rest intentionally. Treat downtime as seriously as a market date or a kiln firing because it is essential to your business. 4. Redefine productivity. Progress isn't just about how much you make, It's also about the quality of the energy you bring to your work. Your creative business should give you life, not take it away. When you shift your mindset from I have to do it all to I only need to do what matters most, you create space for joy, rest, and longevity. Mindset creates your identity as a business owner. One of the most powerful and often overlooked shifts in creative journey is the move from saying I make pottery to saying I run a pottery business. At first glance, it seems like a small change in words, but in reality, it's a huge mindset transformation. One that shapes the way you show up, make decisions, and build consistency. This shift isn't about hitting a certain revenue number or getting featured in a magazine. It's not even about how many shop updates you've had or how many followers you've gained. It's about how you see yourself. When you're still identifying mainly as someone who makes pottery, your choices are usually centered around the creative moment itself, making whatever you feel inspired to make that day, pricing based on what feels fair rather than strategy, saying yes to opportunities, markets, collaborations, custom requests without thinking about fit, and measuring progress only by how much you've made, not by whether it aligns with bigger goals. There's nothing wrong with this phase. It's joyful, free, and often where we all begin. But if your dream is to build something sustainable, this mindset eventually limits you. At some point, growth requires you to expand your identity. When you start thinking, I run a pottery business, your perspective changes completely. Suddenly, you're not just making for the sake of making, you're making with intention. And here's what that may look like: decisions with intention. You ask, does this product, project, or opportunity move me forward, move my business forward? If not, you let it go, even if it's tempting. You have boundaries with your time. You realize your studio hours are limited, so you protect them. You stop overcommitting to custom orders or saying yes to every event. You build a long term vision. Instead of chasing every new trend on Instagram or copying what another potter is doing, you focus on building something sustainable for your style, your audience, and your goals. This isn't about losing the joy of creativity. It's about creating a structure where that creativity can actually thrive. When you step into the mindset of a business owner, you gain clarity. Every decision is filtered through your bigger vision, so you stop scattering your energy. You build consistency. Systems and boundaries allow you to keep showing up without burning out. You attract respect from yourself and from others. Most importantly, this identity shift is often the turning point where creators move from struggling for sales to seeing consistent growth. Now, here are some practical steps to step into the business owner identity. First, introduce yourself differently. The next time someone asks you what you do, try saying, I run a pottery business instead of I make pottery. Notice how it changes the way you feel. Make one intentional decision. Look at your to do list and ask, which of these actually moves my business forward? Prioritize that first. Set one boundary. Say no to something that doesn't align with your current goals. A distracting custom order, a social media trend that feels forced, or an opportunity that drains more than it gives. And most importantly, write down your long term vision. Even if it's rough, put it on paper. Where do you want your business to be in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years? This vision will help you filter decisions with a lot more confidence. Becoming a business owner isn't about losing your creative freedom, it's about protecting it. When you shift your mindset from I make pottery to I run a pottery business, you step into a role that honors both your artistry and your future. You're not just creating pieces, you're building something that can sustain you, grow with you, and impact others for years to come. And that identity shift, it's often the moment where everything starts to click. And here we are at the end of the video. If you feel overwhelmed by all the strategies out there, just pause. Start with your mindset first. Build the belief that your work matters, that growth is possible, and that failure is not the end of the road. Once that's in place, every tool and strategy you learn will actually work for you because you'll have the persistence, clarity, and confidence to apply it until it does. Because at the end of the day, tools are replaceable, strategies change, platforms come and go, but your mindset, that's the one asset that will carry you through every season of your creative business. It's the mindset that says, I'm willing to learn. It's the mindset that says, I can adapt. It's your mindset that says, my work has value. And it is your mindset that says, I'll keep going even when it's hard. That's a real foundation of a thriving creative business. If you found this video useful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with other creatives who might need to hear an encouraging word or two. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.